to ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. Somebody is dead. That's on you. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now, and justice is what we've all got to get. We're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants.
People are going to want to exercise their First Amendment rights, but please do so safely and lawfully to ensure that we do not have any further tragedy in this city or destruction.
We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis. Let's unite around hope and love and peace and getting justice.
Watching that carefully, I realized something very simple. This isn't leadership. This is emotion in charge of a city right here. When the mayor talks like this, it doesn't calm crowds. It validates them. And once the streets hear that tone, here's what follows.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Let go! Kill someone else! Go for it! Kill someone else!
All right, let's pause right here because that's not a protest. That's a man reaching for a federal agent's gun. And notice something. Nobody around him is trying to stop him. This wasn't an isolated moment either. It spread it.
Out now!
Wow. This is a federal courthouse, not a Starbucks, not a Target, not a Walmart, a courthouse. When government buildings start getting rushed, the conversation changes. I see a lot of people in the comments saying Floyd 2.0 and arrest them all. It's something that I can get behind. And the chaos, unfortunately, did not stop there.
Okay, it looks like they are throwing snowballs as the officers are leaving. So again, I believe it was a state patrol, and we did see some MPD officers who were leaving that scene. Hennepin County telling us that their sheriff's deputies have not been on that scene, but it looks like as officers are leaving the scene, just having some protesters or bystanders, agitators throwing some snowballs at them as they leave. We saw this earlier.
We did.
Well.
Yep, we saw this exact thing earlier, and this was targeted toward ICE agents at that particular time. But now, as you mentioned, this is MPD, BCA was on scene, the sheriff's department as well. And as this street is opening up here, you can see a lot of these protesters, these people in the community responding to this. And now we're having an aerial view here of what we have been seeing, what we did see earlier, and now it's once again you can see them throwing some of those snowballs at those vehicles, some of which we can see have just drove off as well. Yeah.
Wow. If you look closely, the police aren't advancing. They're literally retreating. They're throwing these snowballs. Really? That's not strength. That's retreat. Okay? And y'all doing that while they're doing that is okay. And that's when my guy Trump had to step in. He wrote, "I've just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving a car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer in the video that I can't show here, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety. But the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate." And signed President Trump. This is where the split becomes obvious. You know, one side protect law enforcement, amen to that, and the other side is out here remove them. And then DHS weighed in.
The phone a little while ago with Governor Walz and spoke to him as well. I want to reiterate first with all of you the facts of what happened today. At 10:25 a.m. Central Time, Immigration and Customs Enforcement were carrying out lawful operations here in Minneapolis. Because of the adverse weather that Minneapolis has seen in recent snow, one of the vehicles became stuck and ensnared in the snow. Law enforcement were attempting to push out this vehicle, and when a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day began blocking them in, shouting at them, and impeding law enforcement operations. ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle and attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
And now we have the details. According to DHS, this wasn't random. They're saying this woman blocked, stalked, and used a vehicle as a weapon. If you looked at the footage, which again, I can't play here, that was pretty obvious. But that's not the only account.
I woke up to some commotion. I heard some whistles going on out front, so I came downstairs to see what was going on. Wasn't even dressed. And there was a car, the Honda Pilot that's crashed over there now. There's a car blocking the 2 lanes of Portland traffic. And the ICE agents got out and they were saying, "Get out of here, get out of here." And she was what looked like trying to turn around. And the ICE agent was in front of her car, and he pulled out a gun and put it right in, like, his midriff was on her bumper, and he reached across the hood of the car and shot her in the face, like 3-4 times. And then she must have just stepped on the gas. She stepped on the gas immediately, maybe got like 100 feet or so, and ran into the telephone pole and some cars, and then was slumped over in her car. And you could see she was probably gone. And there was a medic, there was a neighbor who's a physician who was yelling, "Can I please check the pulse?" There was no first responders. There were 0 first responders. They left her in her car slumped over for about 10-15 minutes, blocking us all. And eventually EMS got here, and they wouldn't let the bus in, so it was just the EMS workers, and they checked her out for a second, maybe five minutes or so, and then carried her out, no stretcher or anything, carried her out like a sack of fucking potatoes.
Can you describe a little bit about what this woman looked like? Was there anyone else in the car with her? Did you know if she was the target?
I don't know if she was a target. They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah. So
it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah. Okay. That was her goal.
Do you have a read on her demographic?
I think she was a white woman. Looked like, I didn't see her when she was alive, just slumped over in the car. It looked like she had dyed short curly hair. I have a video of her in the car. But yeah, no other description.
The left owns a great deal of responsibility for this. Excuse me. Their rhetoric is the reason that events like this happen. This is unfortunate, and they have to take responsibility for it one way or the other. And this is where things get messy. Different stories, different truths. But the details that we've seen prior to this were pretty clear. But unfortunately, despite either side, the same dead outcome. And instead of cooling things down, state leadership, they decide to escalate.
And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information. And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not.
Let that sink in for a second. The governor says, Tim Walz, this guy who's under investigation, sit here and says, we don't need your help. While federal buildings are attacked and police are getting chased out. And then somehow Zohran Mamdani decides to chime in.
First, just want to make clear that the news coming out of Minneapolis is horrific. This is one part of what has been a year full of cruelty. And we know that when ICE agents attack immigrants, they attack every single one of us across this country. And this is a city and will always be a city that stands up for immigrants across the 5 boroughs. And I have made it clear to everyone within my city government, and that extends to NYPD, that we are going to uphold our sanctuary city policies. We are going to adhere to them. That is why one of the 11 executive orders that we signed was to repeal the previous administration's order to allow for collaboration with ICE on Rikers Island. What we are going to be doing is following the laws that we have set, laws which have kept New Yorkers safe. And we are going to make it clear to each and every person in the city what their rights are. That's why we took the time to make a Know Your Rights video, because it goes back to the earlier question. If you don't know of your rights, then how can you be expected to actually use those rights? So we are going to take every opportunity we have to inform New Yorkers of what they already can do, and also to make it clear to our own city government agencies and departments across the board, including NYPD, that we are not here to assist ICE agents in their work. We are here to follow the laws of New York City.
This right here is the bigger picture. What happens in Minneapolis becomes the blueprint for everyone else. Y'all, unfortunately, someone lost their life in this today. It's not a talking point. That's a tragedy. But, you know, here's the hard part. What happens after tragedy is where leadership actually gets tested. When a leader speaks in anger instead of clarity, the message doesn't stay at the podium. It travels into the streets, to the crowds, you know, into the next major decision. Protests turn into pressure. Pressure turns into confrontation, and confrontation obviously turns into chaos. And suddenly, the question isn't what went wrong in one moment. It's who's responsible for keeping the next moment from getting worse. Law enforcement, it don't operate like a vacuum. I always struggle saying that word. They responded to the environment they were sent into. And when that environment is fueled by confusion, resentment, mixed signals, bad outcomes, they multiply pretty fast. That wasn't, or what we just watched rather, wasn't about silencing grief. It was about whether order still matters during grief. Because if a society can't hold the line when emotions are high, then the loudest voices, not the wisest ones, decide what happens next. And that's the real story here. And it doesn't end tonight. If you made it to the end of this video, comment control, not for the algorithm, for me. And also let me know who made it to the end of the video. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.